And our third main topic today gets sent to us by James Argenta, who writes, on Thursday, during the Nintendo Direct presentation, Illumination and Nintendo announced that the new animated Super Mario Bros. Movie will be released on December 21st, 2022. And the cast of the film. The cast includes Chris Pratt as Mario, Anna Taylor-Joy as Peach, Charlie Day as Luigi, Jack Black as Bowser, Keegan-Michael Key as Toad, and Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong. What are your thoughts on the cast, and do you think this film can be what Illumination will be Illumination's next franchise? All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, James. And yeah, now listen, in a world that is crazy for making video game movies, a lot of video game movies over the years, you haven't seen Nintendo get in that. Like, Nintendo made that one Bob Hoskins Super Mario Brothers movie, and they've always regretted it, and most of the world has regretted it, and they licked their wounds, and they were like, never again. We're never going to turn our characters into these movies again. And a lot of years have passed when a lot of people, you know, where the hell's a Zelda movie? That could be like a Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings kind of epic if you wanted to do Link and things like that, but they haven't done it. Then word came a little while ago, and I remember we talked about that they were going to do a Super Mario Brothers animated movie. Things have been kind of quiet since then, but this thing's coming out just a little over a year from now. And yes, they've announced their cast, and the cast is a pretty impressive list of names. Let's go over and look at this here for a second, shall we? We're talking about the likes of Chris Pratt, of course, doing the voice of Mario, Anya Taylor-Joy, who is super, super hot in the industry right now. She's playing Peach. You got Charlie Day as Luigi. You got Jack Black as Bowser, that's going to be interesting. I kind of like the idea of Jack Black doing Bowser. We got Keegan-Michael Key as Toad. We got Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong, of course. We've got Fred Armisen, who I love Fred Armisen. I absolutely love him, as Cranky Kong, and then Kevin Michael Richardson as Kamek, and the list goes on from there. It's a big list. It's an interesting list. Now, overall, I generally don't care about celebrities doing voices in animated movies. With exceptions, my general feeling is, instead of going out and getting these big famous names, get the trained full-time voice actors who are better at this than these other big famous names and get them to do it. But I understand. I mean, you're going to get more eyeballs on the project if you mention Seth Rogen and Chris Pratt and Anya Taylor-Joy and Keegan-Michael Key and Fred Armisen. I get it. And also, let me say this. Chris Pratt's voice in the Lego movie brought such a delightful innocence and playfulness to it that it really did add a lot to the movie, I thought. I mean, I love Elizabeth Banks, but you could have had anybody do the voice of her character, honestly, even though I love her dearly. But I gotta say, Chris Pratt brought a lot to it. So him being Mario and Charlie Day playing Luigi, I don't know why you couldn't get actual Italian people to do it, but okay, whatever, that's fine. I think this is rather interesting. And the idea of Nintendo getting into it. And I'll tell you what, guys, the one thing that makes me sort of excited about this is if this works, and that's a big if, but if it works, it could start bringing Nintendo out of their shell, no pun intended, out of their shell, and maybe start exploring more with their IPs. Maybe we do get a Zelda thing at some point. Maybe we do see some other things. I don't know. For right now, without knowing much about it and without having seen a single frame, this seems really interesting to me. Kim, you hear about all this. Does it seem like a dumb idea, a good idea? What about it sounds good? I don't know. What are you thinking about this?
It seems fun. I so remember the one with John Leguizamo and Bob Hoskins.
Oh my goodness.
I think Dennis Hopper had that weird hair, and those guys with the shrunken heads. That, to me, that's a classic. Like, that's so nostalgic to my history. I actually wanted a live action, but I'm fine with the voice actors. I do agree with you. I feel like some movies that are animation should have trained voice actors, and then maybe the main character or main two characters is like a big star. The funny thing is, I saw that Sebastian Maniscalco is doing the voice of Spike. I listened to the cast, okay? Pete Correale, Sebastian Maniscalco. These are Italian stand-up comedians. They're both incredibly funny. I kind of feel like Sebastian Maniscalco could have done. I mean, I haven't even heard the voice, so I can't judge. But if you listen or you're a fan of Sebastian Maniscalco, you're like, why isn't he Mario? But okay. I'm excited about it. Chris Pratt, I agree with you. Anytime he does voice work, he just adds like such magic to it. I'm excited for it. I love Super Mario. Mario's been around, what, like almost 40 years almost.
Yeah.
So he's a huge part of all of our history. So I'm excited.
Rob, listen, this is news that I think a lot of people for a long time was wondering if it was ever going to come. Nintendo getting back in the movies, doing it with Illumination Studios. They've had a lot of success. What do you think about a Super Mario Brothers animated movie coming? And it's just a little over a year away. It's coming in December of 2022. So it's really not that far away. You know, they're already well into making this thing. What do you think about the lineup of the voice cast?
Dude, you had me at Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong. Come on now. No, I actually did some work on the Super Mario Brothers movie that was released when it was being directed by. Yeah. I worked they switched the directors and the whole direction of the film, but the original film was going to be directed by the director of Mom and Dad Save the World.
I love that movie so much.
He was the director of Super Mario Brothers. I worked for a company called Altarian Studios, which is a makeup effects house. It was a very, very different movie then. And they decided, it was Roland Joffe who directed The Killing Fields, his company Leitmotiv that was producing the film. And they decided to go in an entirely different direction because Mom and Dad Save the World ended up not doing as well as they'd hoped. So they blinked and they decided to change their whole approach, which I thought was a huge mistake. So then the company I was working for, after doing millions of dollars worth of makeup effects work and creating all kinds of things, was dismissed. So I've always thought it's a fascinating story. You could write a whole book about it. But I look forward to this, to be honest. I mean, the voice cast sounds pretty great.
I got to tell you what, I love Seth Rogen as the voice of Pumbaa in the Lion King live action. I thought he was a great choice for that. I generally don't get terribly excited about famous Hollywood celebrities doing voices, right? It's not like a live action film where they're going to be on set for 3 months. This is literally Chris Pratt is going to go drive into Hollywood to a sound studio, 2 or 3 days, record all this stuff in a sound booth, and then leave. And
many of these people will only see each other on the red carpet when they're all together.
Yeah.
They won't even be in the booth together.
Yeah. I mean, maybe there might be a couple of times they have to be in there together, because we did see that with Lion King, where where Jon Favreau thought it was important to get them actually together in a room to play off each other. So maybe there'll be a little bit of that, but for the most part, I think you're right. I think a lot of these will just be Charlie Day will go and record his stuff at a sound booth in Florida, and Chris Pratt will do his stuff somewhere else. But so I generally don't get excited about it, but I gotta say, I'm looking forward to this. Not just because I like the idea that this could lead to something bigger for Nintendo, but just the sounds of the project in and of itself, it sounds like it could be delightful. Hopefully it will be. Question is for you guys. What do you think about the sounds of the Super Mario Brothers movie? We got a cast now with the likes of Jack Black and Seth Rogen, Keegan-Michael Key, Chris Pratt, Charlie Day. It's an interesting lineup. How do you guys feel about it? Jump on down into the comments section below and leave your thoughts there.